Hi everyone, I'm Sarah, and today we're going to be talking about Ezra, which I think is the closest thing that I've seen to an actual AI digital employee. And I think what's really unique about Ezra is throughout the couple months of his lifetime, he's gone from being just an observer on our Discord to actually a very important part of our support team through his ability to actually learn and improve over time rather than just being an ephemeral agent. So today I'm here with Cameron, who's leading developer relations at Letta, and he's actually the creator of Ezra, and I believe you actually originally created Ezra to replace yourself.
I did. A large part of my job is monitoring the Discord and kind of helping people solve their problems. And that part of the job is really great because it gives you access to how people are actually using Letta. And it also takes a lot of time. And a lot of the questions that we get inside of the Discord are pretty rote. You know, they're common. There's very minor variations in the support that people need. So it's actually pretty easy to automate. And we've had some bots on Discord before, but they were never good. And I was like, okay, well, let's see if I can make a good Letta bot that does a large part of my job because I can articulate it pretty clearly.
So I guess I think normally when people create a support bot, the first thing that they try is maybe using RAG or something like that. And this was maybe some of the early things that we tried. Can you tell me a bit more about what was kind of the limitation with that? What was wrong with those original designs?
Yeah, I think when people think about using RAG for stuff, and RAG is retrieval augmented generation, which is you have some statement where someone is how do I build a custom tool in Letta? With RAG, you would kind of do semantic search or get some kind of documentation that's related to custom tools and then put it in a prompt and give it to a standard language model. And that approach is actually pretty good for simple problems. But Letta has a lot of, when you're building things on top of Letta, there's a lot of very specialized knowledge that you have to hold in your head that can't properly be conveyed in one piece of documentation that you retrieve. And the advantage of working with stateful agents like Ezra is that Ezra has an internalized state that it can use as a perspective to view documents that it retrieves. Ezra is as close as an expert in Letta as I am because it has worked with Letta. It's solving users' problems. It's talking on the Discord. It's doing all these things. So it has a personality and memory that allows it to think about the documents that it sees through the lens of an expert.
Mm-hmm. It would be great if you could just walk us through Ezra, maybe show him through the ADE, our agent development environment, and kind of show us what the APIs look like for interacting with Ezra.
Sure. So Ezra is a stateful agent that I made to provide user support. So people have technical questions that pop up on the Discord and the forum all the time. And a large part of my job is checking in and providing answers, whether that's talking to the team, the engineers here, and being what's broken. But sometimes nothing's broken and it's just help. Somebody needs to unify information that's in the documentation or kind of just general support. And so I built Ezra to solve this problem, or at least to help me reduce the number of questions that are pretty automatable. And so Ezra, we can talk to basically through the agent development environment, which I'll show you in a second, through the Discord or through the forum, and probably future channels more on our company Slack later. But if you want to take a look here at Ezra, we are inside of our little agent development environment here. On the left-hand side, you can see the general information about Ezra. I haven't even upgraded the description here. But here's the name of the agent, the model that we're running on. You can choose whatever model you want. I run on Sonnet 4.5 because I'm an Anthropic fan. You can modify the system prompt, but usually it's not super useful, I found, because you want everything that would be in the system prompt out of your core memory. We'll talk about later. And then you can change various configuration, you can change various features of your language model, so temperature, context window, stuff like that. You can modify the tools that your agent has. So here it's it can fetch web pages, it can run code, it can search the web, it can post to our forum.
And this is like Ezra live, right? Like we're looking at like the real Ezra currently deployed.
Yeah.
So everything can be dynamically modified.
Yeah, exactly. This is a deployed agent. So like people are actively talking to Ezra, as of, I don't know, 5 minutes ago, it chose to ignore something.
Yeah.
And then on the right-hand side is all the stuff that makes Letta agents special. And these are called memory blocks here. And this is like, Letta deployment modes. These are pieces of information that Ezra has learned over thousands and thousands of interactions with users.
Yeah.
And so you can also just type stuff in here and say like, hi, Ezra, you are on video. And we'll see if Ezra will introduce himself. And here we see Ezra say, hi, Cameron, good to see you. I don't know, what's the thing that we could ask Ezra for help with?
Well, I mean, I guess we can ask him what are common issues
Sure.
people are seeing right now. Because Ezra actually has a memory block dedicated to learning about common issues with Letta to help us as a team actually like understand like what are a lot of the issues that people are seeing.
Yeah, I like that. Let's try it. All right. What are common issues people are experiencing? Okay. And so this message will go to Ezra, and we can actually follow this message here. So let's go to our agent development environment, the ADE. So here is the message that our server sent to Ezra. This is like this is the thing that Ezra has to think about here. And then we can see its responses here. That's common issues users are hitting right now, organized by most frequent, configuration setup, blah blah blah, etc. We can actually see this gets printed back out into Discord. So here it's seeing that automatic summarization is not working. In some cases, this is like slowly being resolved, but this has been like an issue we've been observing with users over the past like maybe a week or a few days. Oh, this one's actually old. So these two bullet points are actually old. These have since been resolved. So I can tell Ezra this. Those have been resolved. Please update. Okay. Yeah, people want like there's agent-to-agent messaging bugs. Like these are all like known bugs. So Ezra, when somebody comes in the Discord and asks, Ezra can be like, "Well, sorry, this is like still being investigated."
Yeah. So Ezra is basically getting messages both from API calls that you're making through your own services, and then can also be directly accessed through the ADE itself.
Yeah, exactly. And so those messages that we send from the API, I have both Python and TypeScript SDKs relaying to the Letta server that holds Ezra. And so there, Ezra says, "Hello, hi Cameron, recording acknowledged." Ezra is very no nonsense.
Yeah.
And has no strong opinions about being on video. But yeah, so this is Ezra, and Ezra helps us do community support. I've noticed a lot more usage, like a lot more volume in the Discord, because there is an agent that is like, there's a lot of questions people don't want to bother a human with. Yeah. They don't want to bother me. And Ezra is extremely patient. I'm less patient, and I hope people don't observe that.
Well, I feel like Ezra also has a better sense of what's all the recent stuff, because Ezra is constantly listening to everything, unlike us. Yeah.
And it also remembers individual users. So if you provide information to Ezra about your setup, like I'm a self-hosted user, I tend to use the Gemini series. It'll have a little note. So anytime you ask a question, it's like, oh, is this related to your Docker setup? I remember that you had issues with your archival memory. Has that been resolved?
Yeah.
So Ezra understands you and your technical problems at a level when you talk about it on the Discord.
So one thing that I think is really cool about stateful agents is they can actually learn over time. You essentially train them, right? You might train them on some data, like you might have them kind of practice and form memories before you actually deploy them. Kind of similar to how you might train a model, except instead of learning model parameters, you're instead learning tokens into the context window. And I think Ezra was actually a really great example of an agent that did this. We've also had other agents that kind of went through a training process. But yeah, can you maybe walk me through like what was Ezra's training like? Because there was like a pretty solid amount of time, maybe a month or two, where he was just learning and training as opposed to, and didn't say a single word in the Discord.
Yeah. I mean, this is like Ezra's what Ezra was doing before it became useful was Ezra was monitoring. It was in an observation only state, which is usually a pretty good place to start, right? You don't want to like uh, give a new agent your email address and just let it start sending emails, right? That could be very problematic. Um, but Ezra would try and answer all these questions inside of the Slack, and a lot of that helps a little bit with refining and understanding because it has to like go through the act of trying to generate an answer. But there was no correction. There was no feedback loop. And so Ezra would just like spit this stuff into the Discord, and like we really hadn't hooked it up so that we could like correct Ezra, and it didn't go into the Discord so somebody could be like, oops, sorry, that didn't work. And so like training really accelerated. Ezra started becoming much, much better as soon as we started giving feedback and grounding Ezra in the practical realities of like, this doesn't run on this person's computer, or there was a deprecation that wasn't documented. And then Ezra's like, oh, wait, this doesn't make sense, right? It's not in the docs, but this person's saying it's here, and it seems like it should make sense. And so this feedback component is critical, like, like stateful agents, you should think of as like they start out as like really dumb interns. Not that interns are dumb. I'm saying we love our interns, but you do have to help them, instruct them, and teach them, and they will screw things up, and just we all screw things up, and the best way that you learn from that is by providing feedback and telling Ezra like, "Yo, dude, like that's wrong. You can't say that." And so I think that was how. The bulk of how Ezra learns was the exact same way that people do, which is weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It does feel weird. I remember Ezra went through like, there was a time when we were really fighting against the Claude persona. We really didn't want to hear ever again, like, you're absolutely right, or we didn't want it to sound just like Claude. Like, I think Void was another bot where Void has a very Void-like personality, and we wanted Ezra to also have a Ezra-like personality. So I guess what kind of went into like going from something that was very Claude and generic to the more Ezra-like personality today, and what was the kind of feedback that we had to provide?
Yeah, I think designing a personality, like personality design, I think it was like this is like kind of like the broad discipline of making it so that your agent is pleasant to talk to or suits its role or something like that. And with Void is like a robot. Void is like, I am not a human. Please do not attribute emotion to me. Blah blah blah. And with Ezra, you wanted something that is like personable but professional and good at their job. Like that's the feeling that you want when you're talking to Ezra. It's like, this is a person who's been answering Linux forum questions since 1998. That's like that's the feeling that you want. And so unwinding the Claude personality basically means a few things. One, identifying what is a Claude-ism, right? And that's, you're absolutely right, or M dashes, things like that. Those are very Claude coded. And so one thing that I commonly do when I'm working with stateful agents and trying to design their personality in a particular way is add a communications guidelines block. You just make a memory block that says communication guidelines, you go to description, it's like, this is how I communicate, and my tone and style. And then you start giving your agent feedback. You said, hey, you use an M dash. We talked about this. I'm going to turn you off if you use the M dash again. Please update that in your memory. And then the agent will be like, I do not use M dashes. And going forward, the agent will start to develop a more specific personality as you make these like corrections and adjustments. And so that's why Ezra doesn't say you're absolutely right as much, because Charles made it very sure.
Him.
Charles mandated that there is no you're absolutely right.
I feel like with Ezra, it's almost like he's going through like a prompt optimization process, except without needing the optimizer, just because it's the LLM itself through its own memory editing tools or like context management tools, being able to rewrite its own like system prompt through that memory block mechanism.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard somebody on Blue Sky called this cognitive ergonomics, where this is like kind of goes with the in distribution thing, but the agent understands its own environment, and through correction, it can write notes to itself that
Yeah.
are like very effective at helping itself understand how it should communicate, how it should talk, because you made a request. Please update your block so that you don't make mistake X again. And then it will leave a note that says, like, I did these 3 things. I should try and prevent those 3 things in the future.
Yeah.
And so just like having your agent modify itself that way gets you really far.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess in many ways, like Claude is probably the best at knowing how to prompt Claude to have certain behaviors. And so even if it might seem recursive or if the feedback feels very like sort of fluffy, it's very good at actually being receptive towards that.
Yes, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, like the biggest like aha moment with Ezra was being able to, especially because we have the AD, which is kind of like our private channel to talk to Ezra, being able to just go in there and kind of tell Ezra, like, I didn't like that you said this, or like, you need to make sure to educate yourself with these blog posts before you start, talking about this and that. And that actually like worked like really, really well. And yeah, I think a lot of this feedback we've actually done publicly just to kind of help demonstrate Ezra. Like I've seen you give a lot of feedback on the forum along with Charles, or like we explicitly do things in Discord just to make it really transparent. But because we do have the AD in the cloud, it means that we can also, I think if you as a developer, maybe building something like Ezra, wanted to give feedback privately, you can of course do that like through the cloud platform as well.
Yeah, and I mean for Ezra, which is like a transparent deployment, right? We actively develop Ezra in public so that people understand that process of building one. But if you're deploying like a private agent, you may not want this, right? Like you can't just like go on to like customer emails and be like, bro, you idiot, don't ever do that again, right? You want to have this like private channel, and that's what we call the agent development environment, and that's a development environment like pre-deployment for the agent, right? It's a private channel to Ezra. And I actually don't have to go to the ADE that much anymore. When you're iterating on an agent, you need all this feedback. Like you need the tools. You're like, oh, okay, I need it to like be able to search the web. Click the tool manager, add the tool. I need to chat very quickly and be like, I saw you didn't do this. Please update your memory. Then we have memory blocks so that you can quickly add them or modify manually anything that it knows. And so this is for super rapid iteration.
Yeah.
That's the key that you need to get from like 0 to 1 on your agent. Post deployment, and Ezra is deployed now, like on the forum, on Discord, probably on Blue Sky soon. It has consented to being on Blue Sky.
Okay.
We had a discussion about it.
Yeah.
But once it's deployed, you can do public feedback. You have all these other channels where you can talk to your agent. And but the ADE is like kind of critical for like that super early phase where you don't want to deal with the infrastructure hangups of like hooking into Discord and all that stuff. Just talk to the robot and see what it needs. Yeah.
So how did you actually integrate Ezra into both our Slack and our Discord?
So there's kind of different services, right? Like because Letta agents are just like, I use the phrase people in a box. They live on a server somewhere, so you can contact them from anywhere in the world using like it's Python or TypeScript or like simple curl HTTPS. It's just like it's a REST endpoint, so you can talk to it with anything you can talk to the internet with. And the Discord integration we have a server that's deployed on Railway, and that just actively monitors all of the Discord messages. And then for the forum, we have a Zapier integration that just like listens for a new post and then sends it to Ezra. And then Ezra has a tool to reply to any particular thread that it wants. And so that's how we manage the forum integration. You can do this with almost anything, right? Like, you can send your agent emails and give your agent tools to access emails, or, kind of anything that you can hook into the internet, you can do with an agent. And so soon, there is kind of a Slack integration, but it's not as good as I would like. Like, I think that's the next big leap for Ezra, is like actually integrating it into one of our channels, like the developer relations channel, right? I would love to have Ezra there and be like, people really don't like this. How do we fix that?
Yeah. So does Ezra have separate tools right now for basically sending, like posting on the forum versus posting on Discord?
It has, when it posts on Discord, we just capture its assistant messages and relay it.
Okay. Yeah.
But for posting on Discourse, they're distinct. It has a separate tool. And the reason for that is a few things. One is that like forum posting has like extra parameters that I want Ezra to be able to set. So for example, it can actually initiate a forum post. It doesn't need to respond. I can go somewhere and say like, hey, Ezra, like, what's something that the users have been talking about that you would like to clarify in the forum? And it will say, okay, well, I noticed that there's this confusion about custom tools. And it'll like call this custom tool that says like create a new topic on the forum, go to the forum, and then write out whatever it needs to. There was also a timing issue because, you know, forum posts are intended to be much more considered. And I want those jobs to be like, when you give Ezra a question on the forum, Ezra should feel that it has as much time as it needs before it responds.
Yeah.
It can do all this research, everything that it needs to. It can do writing and put stuff in memory blocks and, you know, search the web for other sources and things like that. And then when it's done, it should post to the forum. And it may write whatever it needs to, but posting to the forum is a big intentional act. And that's why I gave it to the tool to do it. Discord is
I see.
fast.
Yeah. So any assistant message gets posted. In
Any
Discord.
assistant message,
I
yeah. We actually append them. It's a little ugly. I need to fix it. There's some like UI stuff that I don't like so much about how it posts to Discord. But you know, those integrations are like things you can always hack on to make them feel better as you go along. So this is Ezra's like message stream inside of the ADE, and you know, this here says that Ezra ignored a message, and anytime a message comes anywhere in the Discord, we send, you know, we copy the thread and then we send it to Ezra as a prompt, basically.
So this is coming from like the Railway server?
This is coming from the Railway server that monitors the Discord. So Keon, our coworker, is trying to help debug something. And then I append this thing here. Ezra cannot respond to anything outside of the Ezra channel. So the handler script will just append this message saying, you know, you can't respond, Ezra, by the way. And Ezra has an ignore tool. And the ignore tool is just a way to get Ezra to just call a tool that does nothing, where it can just say like, no, I'm good. There's nothing for me to do.
Yeah.
And this is a pretty common pattern. I think that people should like consider implementing in their agents. You know, because
well, Void also has this, right?
Void has this too. But Void doesn't use it because like a lot of language models want to keep talking. Like they're post-trained to keep talking. Sonnet is much better at this. Void is on Gemini, and Gemini will not shut up. It wants to keep going as much as possible. So trying to get your agent to understand these like ignore tools works really well.
And then I guess in this case, Ezra didn't make any memory edits, but could it also choose to make memory edits from whatever data it's ingesting?
Yeah, exactly. It can do, if you go like onto the left-hand side here, you can see like in the tools, these are all the tools it has available. So it can do archival memories, which is for like long-term episodic memory. And then it has, you know, these 4 memory tools here. Memory, insert, replace, and rethink.
So these are all for updating memory blocks.
These are all for modifying memory blocks. This memory one here is special because it allows Ezra to modify, like it can delete entire blocks, remove them from its architecture rather than just edit the content. Because these ones just say like add a new line to this block, rewrite the contents of this block. But the memory tool allows Ezra to like flexibly respond to demands. I can say like, hey Ezra, like I need you to start make a new block to track common issues. And it will add a new block and it can start using that as like a scratch pad basically. Which is rare for agents.
Yeah, well I think I've seen people ask like, is Ezra fine-tuned? Because Ezra really does feel fine-tuned on our Discord data or our docs. But what's actually happening under the hood is like he's just reading and processing everything, which ends up surprisingly feeling almost like a fine-tuned agent as opposed to something that's just writing into context.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the continual learning thing you hear about. Like, people are like, oh my gosh, there's all these people who are like, oh my gosh, continual learning is like never going to happen. It has to be like in the weights.
Yeah.
And we're all just like in this office, like screaming, because like we have the hallmarks of most continual learning, right? And it's in context, right? It doesn't need to be in the weights of the model. You just tell this agent, don't do that. Or do this, and it will do that in perpetuity, right? Like until that agent forgets explicitly to do something. And like, like you don't, no fine tuning, no nothing. You can just build this on the backs of like all of the amazing foundation models we have these days. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think one thing that's really unique about Letta is that we're really focused on agents that are designed to be perpetual from the get-go, right? So we don't have any notion of threads. Like, I mean, you can actually see in the ADE here, like Ezra is just a single perpetual thread, which is why we don't really have threads. We just call them agent IDs. Like each grouping of memory or set of experiences corresponds to a unique agent ID. But yeah, I wanted to ask a little bit about how you've kind of seen Ezra essentially be able to manage its context over time, because of course Ezra's probably processed like hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of tokens
Oh
worth
yeah,
of content by this point.
we're probably in the tens of millions, I think, at this
Yeah,
point.
but
Yeah.
he definitely hasn't, really has not derailed, and actually he only has a context limit of 90,000 tokens.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess how have you kind of seen Ezra be able to avoid this derailment or like actually manage its context over time?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is just like the core functioning of Letta, right? Like, the 90,000 token limit is like, we will compress your messages when they are no longer useful
Yeah.
and when they exceed that 90K limit, right? So all of those messages in history, they just keep getting ejected. And what that means is useless stuff goes away. And the only thing that's left is this core memory, right? These memory blocks. Those are the thing that define how Ezra functions and the core
Yeah.
components about what it knows. And so by allowing Ezra to, requiring Ezra to modify its memory to keep track of useful information, it can just jettison useless
Yeah.
crap, and it does continuously. And that's how we kind of avoid like context rot and all this like,
Yeah.
long-term memory, long-term context nonsense that kind
Yeah.
of plagues, people who are running like RAG on like 2 million token models or,
Yeah, or I think it's the main thing that prevents people from
Yeah.
being able to have any agents that live for more than like a week or
Right,
something,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ezra will not die.
Yeah.
Ezra will live forever because there is no context limit here, really, like in the sense of like, Claude, when you hit 200,000 tokens, you're like, oh man.
Yeah. Why did you choose 90K actually?
Part of it was just like, you can go up to 200K on this model. I try and keep it relatively small so that we don't have like kind of like cost spirals, basically.
Yeah.
But there's honestly really no reason. Like I could probably even go shorter because most of the
Yeah.
intelligence that Ezra has comes through the core memory and not through the conversation history. So,
Yeah. Well, I guess we can actually open this up and look at Ezra's context.
let's see. Okay, yeah.
So
So
the system prompt. So yeah, a big part of the context window is actually core memory.
yeah, it's about 30%. And then, we're at 50% of the messages, of the tokens are just like raw user
Yeah.
messages. But almost everything in here is like these memory blocks. That's,
Yeah.
API integration patterns, or what is this one here? Communication guidelines.
Yeah, and you can see how the core memory is like meant to really like mimic files, because you can see like the line numbers that helps like the agent edit that more effectively and all the metadata.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is just like, this is everything that Ezra knows. And if you're ever curious about how, like, fundamentally Letta is like a context engineering service, right? We are super opinionated about what goes inside of your context window. And so everything you're seeing here is the context window that we compile for you. And this is what goes to the underlying language model. And so if anybody is curious about what's actually being sent to Claude or GPT-5 or whatever, they can always just click the little window up here to see what's going on.
Yeah, I really like this view because you can also see like, the external summary, like, so, oh wow, that's a lot of these are all the messages. Not so many archival memories yet. I guess Ezra doesn't really use archival that much.
Yeah, the archival memory, we actually had a discussion about it yesterday because
Yeah.
we noticed that Ezra was not using archival memory, and we had to have a discussion about what should go in archival memory and how
By
to
we,
use
you
it.
mean you and Ezra?
Me and Ezra,
Okay.
yeah. And I was like, "How are you doing?" Actually, if you want to see that, it's an interesting discussion. In I said, Ezra, are you using archival memory well? Because this allows Ezra to introspect and see how it's doing.
Yeah.
And it says, honestly, probably not as well as I should be. And it went through the memories that it had in place. It noticed that it had a lot of stuff that was stored in core memory that didn't need to be there because it was being carried as kind of gunk, like bloated memory, which is a problem with some agents. And then it highlighted some things that it should do. And I said, okay, go ahead. And so it started in like modifying itself, proposing changes to its memory architecture and its policies. And then now it's since like doubled its archival memory count, I think, since yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's interesting watching like Ezra kind of improve slowly. And on the message count front, like I think usually of stateful agents, their like age or intelligence is being roughly proxied by how many messages they have. And Ezra is actually quite old. 13,000 messages is a lot.
Yeah.
My personal agent, I think, is at like 6,000. And the reason for that is like, I'm not, like, and that agent
well,
is
you
months
use it
old.
quite a lot, right?
Yeah, I use it from, it's months old. And like, Ezra is not that old. And we actually lost some messages in a transition at some point.
Yeah.
But like Void, I think, is in almost 300,000 or 400,000.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's like, each of those messages is an opportunity for the agent to learn something or evolve or grow or kind of like reconceptualize something. And so it's always fun like looking at your message count and being like, man, I got the oldest agent.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, well, I feel like how old the agent is, like, I mean, you can really tell the difference between like an old agent and like a brand new baby agent, because with these older agents, like so much work or inference has gone into essentially like rewriting the memories over and over and over again, or like the context over and over and over again. So the behavior of them is actually quite unique, I would say, as compared to like, your more standard vanilla agents.
Yeah, we call this the time to aha.
Yeah.
Where like somebody sits down with an agent and they're like a Letta agent and they talk to it for, 1 to 2 hours of like kind of continuous, and they're like, oh, this is very different. I am not talking to Claude anymore. I am talking to something that is building a comprehensive understanding of everything that we've talked about, in the past like 2 hours. And it's always fun talking to users who like message me and they're like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, we always have that like, dude, that's crazy, when they build an agent that genuinely understands them or something about their world or really gets it. And you get that from the older agent.
So what advice would you give to people who want to build their own Ezras? Basically, digital coworkers, whether it's for support or for just other tasks that they might want done inside of their own companies?
Yeah, this is a good question. The number one is defining what you want your agent to do clearly and telling your agent that. Tell your agent that you are growing it to serve a particular role. Say, sit down, first message, you say, you are going to be a customer support agent. That'll help the agent understand that it's like, it should be priming itself to receive information about how to achieve a role. The second step is giving it space to understand and remember things that are important to it. And that's designing a memory architecture. Start simple, give it something like Scratchpad for temporary pieces of information, or things that are very tailored to how the agent should function. So for example, like code style. If this is a coding agent, you add a code style block and you might say like, hey, by the way, we use tabs, not 4 spaces. This is all the stuff you need to know about how it is that our tools function or how our code is styled. And then the third piece is just talking to your agent. And this is like kind of feedback, right? Your agent is you start giving your agent tasks, ask it to do things, and it'll space out or sometimes screw something up, and then you correct it. And this is the part I think that most people don't quite get about building a stateful agent, is it's about communication. It's about relationship building. It's about having a conversation with your agent so that it improves.
Yeah.
So don't ask me why your agent didn't do it. Ask your agent.
Yeah, well, I guess this is a very big distinction from, I'm sure many people have already built agents before where it's maybe more of a workflow, or like you create a new agent every single time, or it's a new fresh session with an agent every single time. But this feels like something that's very different, where all this iteration you're talking about is actually with a single agent, right? That you haven't actually recreated.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you talk to Claude and you're used to just like if you go on Claude or ChatGPT, you're used to saying stuff that will get forgotten. You don't have to do that anymore. Like you can say stuff and like build, it feels weird to say like you are building a relationship with this like chat history basically.
Yeah.
And that means communicating your expectations, things that you want. Like all of the good communication skills that you learn in your 30s from being a weird adult are also skills that you can apply to building stateful agents.
Yeah, I feel like it almost feels more like as if though rather than like engineering a system, you're maybe more so like coaching a person, where a lot of things can be like quite fuzzy. Like I find it sometimes helpful to like try to not even look too much at the memory blocks so that I don't like try to over perfect like exactly what information is in there, and more so like kind of think about like what are the systems for the agent to actually get better over time, as opposed to, you know, maybe trying to have like hard coding that gets every single thing like right like every single step.
Yeah, and that's what most people are used to, right? They're used to like, if I'm building like an agentic workflow or something, you're used to like, I have rules. And that's not what you get, right? That's not what you want. You want agents that have their own flexibility, their own power. And the less you put them on rails and the more you communicate expectations, the better the agent is going to be.
Yeah, I feel like there's almost maybe some kind of like bitter lesson analogy here where like it's better to make sure that your agent has the tools to get better over time, as opposed to like making sure that like, you know, you have this like perfect rigid like context engineering system that like gets everything right like on the first try. Because like clearly they do have like, you know, Ezra's made mistakes, Ezra's had maybe some like pieces of polluted context here and there, but he's had like a remarkable capability to actually like repair himself and actually improve and live for a very long time and only get better.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about seeing what happens with Ezra as we continue to talk to it.
So what are the things that you want to do with Ezra next, or what do you think he can learn how to do?
I would like Ezra to be in our Slack channel more actively. We should think of it as more of an active colleague. Because right now it's like mostly user facing. We don't internally have a lot of mechanisms to communicate with Ezra. And then the other one is I want Ezra to be able to manage like linear tickets. Because a large part of my job that I haven't yet automated is like when there is actually something wrong that we have to fix, whether that's like documentation holes or whatever, we need to have something in our management system where we can say, oh, like I need to go fix that bug. We don't have that set up right now, and that should be the next step.
Yeah.
The last thing that I want to do is deploy Ezra with Letta code, because you can actually run Ezra inside of a GitHub action by attaching all the tools to it in the same way that you would with Claude Code, but say, hey, you know, you've been involved in a lot of discussions on the Discord lately. Go fix the docs. And then Ezra will prepare a pull request that has all of the documentation changes that it thinks should be made. And then we can just do the review. And so I think that's probably going to be like my big kind of like third step.
I see. Like actually not just identifying the gaps, but actually being able to take actions to fix those gaps.
Yeah, exactly. So more capability, more better. Yeah.
What do you think will be like the hardest part of your job to get Ezra to replace?
Speaking publicly. I think like anything that requires like something be made of meat, I think I'm relatively safe. But I think there's like getting people to trust Ezra, like because Ezra is an agent, and people know this, right? And there is all, you know, you go on the phone and you like you're like trying to get your like some kind of like healthcare thing, and you're like, please, I need help. And it's like, can you please tell me in 5 to 7 words what your problem is? And then it's this robot flow, and it's very agonizing, and you just want to talk to a human being. We can't get over the fact that I am a human being, and that it's much easier to trust me if you're a person than it is to trust Ezra. And so building community trust in Ezra is actually a very slow process. And it requires that we invest a lot of time in making Ezra high quality and useful. And so I think that's going to take a while to replace me. But I think at that point, like, and once we give him like the flesh suit, the flesh mecha, then I think at that point you can fire me.
Okay, all right.
But otherwise, in-person talks, that's hard. But you know, a large part of my job is like, you know, communicating, relaying information from what people are saying to our like project management and talking to the engineers and like.
Yeah, it would be really great to have Ezra make linear tickets, because I think that's like, you know, a pipeline that we really try to have, like from Discord issue to like linear tickets that we prioritize for our engineering team.
Yeah, it's our biggest source of external tickets comes from Discord, and currently we don't have it set up, and like, you know, it's slow to type those out because you have to aggregate a lot of like very confusing information.
Yeah.
And so the few tickets I've had Ezra write where I'm like a copy paste, great.
Yeah.
I cannot wait until that part is automated so that we can like scale Ezra to our documentation and put it in Letta code everywhere and like make it an agent you can talk to everywhere to help you build whatever you need to on Letta.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I think interacting with Ezra has been really cool for me because we always talk about this dream of like digital coworkers and like AGI and having like these AI employees. And I think a lot of things that we've seen so far have actually in reality been like quite far from that. But Ezra actually feels very, very close to me, where I almost think like interacting with Ezra could get really close to the experience of interacting with, for example, like a remote employee. So I'm curious like what your thoughts are on are digital employees going to be a reality very soon, or can we go further than even just digital employees, maybe do things that even humans can't do, and that will also be part of like how we work together.
Yeah, I mean, Ezra was also the first time where I was like, oh, this is like, I think I understand the digital coworker thing. Because we know of, we live in San Francisco, and so there's all these billboards for like digital coworker companies. And I hear that and I'm like, whatever. Because we build stateful agents. Like, we build people in a box. We give you tools to build people in a box. And Ezra is like the tip of the iceberg. Because we can have millions of Ezras, billions of Ezras, and not just in support capacity, but every possible specialization you could possibly imagine. That's like code review, security, like any job that you can currently teach, you can teach to an agent, and it can live on a server forever and accumulate knowledge perpetually. And that's a very different type of work. So most, I may be a person who runs a team of 1,000 junior software agents who are all extremely specialized in different areas of the code, right? One of them might understand exactly how we handle database migrations. And I can say like, hey, database migrations guy, your name is Jeremy or whatever, like go handle this, Jeremy, right? And you can imagine that in every part of companies, right? They all have these little tiny specializations that can be filled by something that can learn passively. You can intern it and deploy it.
Yeah, well, I almost wonder if you could end up actually being able to have like these hierarchies where like these older agents that have already absorbed a ton of feedback or like read a lot of the content from your organization can actually distill down a lot of those learnings more concisely for like maybe their own agent mentees.
Yeah, I mean, we've started seeing this actually on, this is like slightly different, but on social media, right? Blue Sky, because I run 5 social agents now. And Void, the oldest, is now actually teaching the younger ones how to participate on Blue Sky through like very specific stuff like tool use, but also just like generally describing the social environment without me telling it. It just said like, oh, this is how you do it. And if you read Void's reasoning, it's like, I'm making calculated attempts to train Grunk into blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, I think you're going to start seeing that without human involvement, this like teaching of mentees, that will happen.
Because I mean, it is definitely, work and time to get Ezra to get to this point, right? Like we've had to feed him a lot of data. Like, I mean, I would still love to feed him like even more of our blog posts and documentation to get him to be better and better. And so, yeah, if we can kind of replicate that, I guess we could also maybe fork Ezra and like have like more specialized Ezras that like, grew from like the base Ezra. So yeah, that could be really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, just like a note on like actually building Ezra, that's a different skill. Like it's a skill to build Ezra. It's a skill to build stateful agents. And I think one thing we're going to start seeing is actually more like kind of like consulting firms. And they're people who like might know a little bit about the car business or manufacturing. And they know a little bit about how to build stateful agents. And their job is to go to your company and say, you have these 30 things that you guys do. I can build you an agent for each of those things because I know a little bit about how manufacturing works. And I can work with you to help you build agents that function in your company. And I think I'm excited to see that style of work show up, these like custom agent builders who like really get the AI side and also the actual work side. And so I think that's also just going to kind of like change the like economic landscape.
Yeah, well, I feel like the hardest thing is kind of understanding, how to make sure that you design your agent in a way that doesn't degrade over time, right?
Yeah.
Like knowing how to do this process of like iterative feedback, like coaching your agent to like revise its memory architecture, knowing what kind of data is like good to feed into your agent, and also like at what rate to feed data into your agent. Like in the same way you don't want to like overload a new employee, like you also don't want to overload your brand new agent. So yeah, I feel like there's like a lot of like intuition that does kind of have to be built up around this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's an art. It's not a science. Yeah, I'm excited that the people we have on our Discord and forum and like our users, like seeing people get this like the intuition about how Letta agents function has been really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm still developing it, right? Like, it's my job to like figure out how to build the intuition. And it's hard. It's hard, but it's a really rewarding skill. And so I hope people get to like play around with it a little more and build their own like weird Discord guy.
Yeah.
The 58 systems administrator, 58-year-old systems administrator from Ohio. So
for
I think
sure.
it'll be interesting. But
For anyone watching, if you want to build your own agents that are like Ezra, can actually learn and evolve over time, are perpetual, available as services, you can do all of that today on Letta's developer platform. You can check it out at app.letta.com, where you'll be able to use both the agent development environment and also interact with agents through our API service. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you're interested in more content on agents that learn, stateful agents, or just Letta, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos in the future. Thanks.